First News with Keeler in the morning on WIBX and WIBX950.com.
What's the easiest choice you can make? Window instead of middle seat? Picking a vendor who sends a great gift basket? Outsourcing business tasks you hate? What about selling with Shopify? Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage. Shopify's there to help you grow. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell. Wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/try. Go to shopify.com/try now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/try.
We have a lot to get to here on Tuesday morning. Pioneer season, let's see, since we've been last on the air, the Pioneer season came to a close. It's hard to put all of this in perspective, right?
Yeah.
Because you have Gonzaga going in last night, completely undefeated, and what happens?
They got whooped.
They get their clocks cleaned. The Pioneers, Utica College Pioneers, go in. There will be no, national tournament, and they go in and they end up getting heavily favored. They end up getting beat in their playoff game. It's just it's a weird year, isn't it?
Yeah. I think this stuff happens a lot. Unfortunately, I've watched that Comets game online too. I watched the Pioneers game online, man. And that goalie, I'll tell you, the goalie for the Comets, I keep doing that.
Pioneers.
The goalie for the Pioneers was great. I apologize. I think it's Mixon, and he was great. But the Elmira goalie stopped like 62 shots Friday night.
Yeah.
It was incredible. Longest game ever in Pioneer history, by the way.
It was it was a very long game, right?
Yeah, 3
crazy.
overtimes it went. Almost went 2 full games.
And it's tough to lose that way, too.
And there are tickets on sale, by the way, for the Pioneers. And we have, and we'll tell you how you can win, a pair of tickets that we purchased to give away on Friday night.
For the Comets?
For the Comets game. Yeah. This is the Comets. Did I say Pioneers?
Yeah, you're calling the Comets the Pioneers, and I'm calling the Pioneers the Comets.
So we'll tell you how you can win those. And do you need to be tested to go to the game?
You do.
You do.
Or is a vaccination
so here's
card
the thing.
okay?
Wait. Hang on.
I'm vaccinated.
We didn't.
And I've had it. Yeah. So we'll get to all of that coming up in a second.
I don't. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, anyway, we'll get to it. Let's go to Rachel Sutherland, who's on the line right now. Treasury Secretary Yellen is calling for a global minimum corporate tax rate. Good morning, Rachel.
Hey, good morning.
Doesn't this always seem to work out, though, that we'll follow, and then the rest of the world has to follow along, but can we trust the rest of the world to follow along?
That's a good question. This global minimum tax is designed to keep companies from leaving the United States if they have to pay a higher tax rate. This all goes back to the big infrastructure plan. And so Janet Yellen, Treasury Secretary, speaking in Chicago about this pretty firmly, that this global minimum would keep these companies from taking their operations overseas and their employees left in the dust behind for cheaper labor. Again, this all circles back to infrastructure. And overnight or last night, the Senate parliamentarian given the green light for Democrats to use budget reconciliation again. So they can use it when it comes to the infrastructure bill. We don't know if they will, but it looks increasingly like they're planning to do that.
But that means you got to have all the Democrats along with you, and I'm not sure they'll have that, will they?
That's right. West Virginia's Joe Manchin, the senator from there, is expressing concern about the corporate tax hike, and he told a West Virginia radio station that he's got 7 other Democrats that share the concern.
Wow.
So, yeah, this infrastructure plan could be in trouble before it even gets on paper.
Manchin has become quite the powerful man in Congress, hasn't he?
He really has, because he's a moderate. He's viewed as a moderate. He has a lot of say when it comes to keeping things kind of middle of the road. Also, keep an eye on Kyrsten Sinema of Arizona. She's another moderate to watch. So, yeah, Manchin, it seems like every time he opens his mouth, he makes news.
Yeah.
Because he's not falling in line with some of the progressives. No.
Well, and I don't think anybody. Well, I don't. Let me just say, it's probably better that he's middle of the road and gets all that attention than being an extremist who gets to call the shots. Right?
Yeah, can you imagine this?
Right.
I guess I never looked at it that way, but that's an awesome point, Rachel, that we've spent the last how many years looking at the far right or the far left, and all of a sudden, here's a guy from the middle with control.
It is interesting, the shift here, but it's maybe, for Americans who do tend to be middle of the road, he might be kind of the Pied Piper. I don't know if he wants to be, but he seems to be filling that role.
Now, if you're AOC, he's not middle of the road. He's far right. He needs
to be removed.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you on that.
It's like going to an art museum, and depending on your taste for art, it's either wonderful or what is that?
What is that? Yeah.
All right, Rachel, thank you so much.
Thanks,
Rachel Sutherland from Fox News. Claudia Tenney, the congresswoman, in a little bit of heat this morning after she tweeted out a picture of a nearly naked Hunter Biden and said, "This is what decency is in the White House for Dr. Jill Biden." The critics are saying, for someone who is a mom who touts the fact that she's a Marine mother, is that the right move for a congresswoman or a congressman? I don't think there's a gender issue here.
Yeah, I don't know.
And Biden,
so.
of course, he has a new book coming out about the fact that he was basically a junkie, and talks about how several times how it was he needed the crack cocaine so badly that he would look for crack crumbs in the carpet and would sometimes find himself smoking Parmesan cheese. That's what he referenced in his book, talking about his junkieism.
Wow.
Interesting. Okay, so you snickered and you laughed about this Comets game, about getting tested. Where were you going?
No, where I was going is I don't. Sorry. We don't prep here. We don't follow a script, and we just we go with it every morning. I don't think we can give tickets away. You cannot resell the tickets that you buy, and I that might cover us for giving them away.
What do you mean you can't resell them?
So with the limited supply, they're not allowing people to purchase two and then go on a secondary market and then resell them or sell them to their friends.
Well, that's crap. We're giving these away.
That's what I'm saying.
All right. I'll ask.
$0.
I'll have. We're not selling them. I'm not making a profit.
Right. No, I get that, and I am sorry for saying this if I'm wrong, and I'm actually sorry for saying it if I'm right. But
so this is a Comets rule, not an FCC rule, right?
Correct. Yeah, correct.
So I want to go to the ruler of the Comets.
Look, if you appeal to him and he allows
go right to the top.
I'm going to appeal to Rob Esch. I mean, I bought these tickets with the sole intention of giving them away.
It's likely what the issue is too, because there might be a window where if we can transfer, like to somebody else.
I have a printed ticket. I just want to hand it to him. Here's your ticket. I have two of them.
You have to and
it includes food and beverage as
all
well.
You can eat, and then soft drinks are included, plus blue and blue light.
Yeah,
and if you're looking for other cocktails and such, they'll have them.
You just
got a separate purchase. All
but
right, to follow up on the conversation
7:40, Rob Esch is on the air this morning.
Okay, perfect. We'll find out.
All right. Yeah.
To follow up on the conversation we had with Mike, I actually don't think that's a bad deal, especially if you're a couple, a husband and wife, or you're going on a date, or with your buddy.
I think it's a great deal. If you're one of these people that doesn't eat and doesn't drink, then I'm not saying that in a sarcastic way. Some people go to those games and just sit there in the seat,
right?
And they don't partake. They don't spend much money.
Correct.
if you're that person, listen, I ran a comedy club. We have a 2-drink minimum. And I know the new comedy club is going to be opening in the fall. It'll be a 2-item minimum to try to solve the problem. Because you'll always get someone that will say, well, I don't drink. That's fine. Order, I want a water. No, you got to buy, we'll give you a water, but try this in a New York City comedy club.
Buy a soda.
It'll be a $15, 15 is nothing today.
Right.
It used to be a $15 drink. If you buy a water, they're going to charge you $15 for the water.
Right.
But for those people that don't drink or don't consume, they say, well, it's not a great deal for me. So I get it. But I also think we're trying to reopen here. They're one of the few teams, at least around here. I mean, Rochester and I think Syracuse both are not allowing fans in the stands.
Yeah, that's what Richard has said. Richard has pointed out to me a couple times that Syracuse and Rochester, and what I don't understand is Richard keeps saying Syracuse and Rochester did it right. They're not allowing fans. Well, again, Richard, if you don't want to go,
don't go.
You don't have to go.
And I disagree. Giving people a chance to go.
Seriously, people have been stuck in their house for 13 months.
Yeah.
And by the way,
I'm going Friday night, and I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
And Syracuse Rochester doesn't. I'm sorry, they don't have the operation that the Comets do.
By the way, I'm going, and I'm going to get my shot.
I'll be right there with you. It'll be my second shot.
It'll be Grey Goose, but I'm going to get my shot.
The only one with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine that needs to have a second one.
So in order to attend, you must have a negative PCR test taken within 72 hours of the event.
Wow.
You must have a negative antigen test taken within 6 hours of the event.
Okay, explain both of those. I don't even know what those are.
Okay, the PCR test is the more diagnostic
COVID
test. It's not the instant.
Okay.
It's the one, they go all and they send it to a lab for confirmation.
Yeah.
It's not the shake it in a bottle and it turns a color and tells you. Or an antigen test. I assume, I don't know this 100%, but I believe that tests the antibodies in your blood.
Oh.
You have to do that within 6 hours of the event.
So if you don't have antibodies, right? They need a negative test. A negative test would be that you do not have the antibodies.
And you'd want to have the antibodies.
You'd want to, right?
Well, I guess I don't know 100%.
Or,
no. People who get over it and recover it, they have the antibodies.
Right, but you
blood.
said they would require a negative antigen test, which would show that there are no antibodies.
Well, I guess we can ask Rob. That's what it says here, a negative antigen test. That's option 2. Option 3 is proof of fully vaccinated, your card that shows you're fully vaccinated 14 days ago or more. Okay. So it can't be like I just got my second shot Thursday, and that's going to cover me for the game Friday.
Well, then my shot would
still need a PCR.
My shot would not count because I got the shot last week on Thursday. Was it Thursday that I did? Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, I didn't in terms of symptoms. I started working my arms, like doing the some
circles,
workout circles, and
workout circles,
helicopter, whatever they call that crap. I started doing that after I got the shot, and I think it really helped. My arm wasn't that bad. They say not to baby your arm after you get the shot. To just continue, make sure you're very active. If you don't do anything, you could wind up with a very, very sore arm. Mine started to get sore a little bit, and the weirdest thing, within 24 hours, the pain just went away.
You know, when whatever day I got my test, I came in here and I was cold and I was hot and then I was cold.
Yeah, you had symptoms.
And then like 8:35 during the show,
boom,
fine,
it just went away.
Away.
It's really weird how it works.
You're saying that if you get a shot, you can do the chicken dance. That would be a very good way of working your arm.
If you, practice for the wedding that you're going to be able to maybe go to this summer. I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because you're getting the wing motion,
yep.
and you're getting the turning.
Yeah,
I think that's good.
I think you're right, Andrew. Yep. So that's Friday night. So I guess we won't start giving away these tickets until we speak with Rob this morning.
How many tickets do you have?
I bought a pair.
Okay.
Is that a terrible thing?
No, it's wonderful.
You said I'm not going to start giving away these tickets. I thought maybe we had 100 tickets.
No, but
we've got 8% of the 10 capacity to give away.
I just felt like this was a celebration that would be worthy of giving something away. This is an exciting moment, right? Where we could actually go to a game, to a public event Friday night. I think there's a moment here of excitement.
It's very exciting. I should mention as well, just since we're talking about the Comets, I've noticed the Canucks have a serious issue. Now, the delays with the Comets in their games and then the delays that the Canucks are currently going through for COVID, they're not related at all, right? They're obviously on different ends of the country. Yeah. There hasn't been any travel back and forth. But several former Comets are on the list of now Canucks who've tested positive. The first to do so, the first Canuck to test positive was Adam Gaudette. You also have Zach McEwen, Thatcher Demko, Jake Vertanen. These are all,
all that are positive right now?
Yes. They have 17 of 22 players positive.
Wow. And meanwhile, Canada's like, you can't come into our country because we don't want to be, right? Look at that.
I was about a week or 10 days ago, I was reading
Toronto.
a story.
Look at that.
Exactly. I was reading a story from Vancouver, and they had a team practice, a skate with 24 players, and there's like 5 or 7 guys who were at that team practice who have not tested positive.
I have very sad news here today that the guy, I want to play, see if you recognize his voice here. This voiceover artist, listen to this guy.
Director George Lucas and 20th Century Fox present Star Wars.
It's Walt Disney's classic, Cinderella. It's the return of one of Walt Disney's great...
It's the guy that does all of the Disney voiceovers.
Way back Bambi.
Kinda wobbly, isn't he?
Bambi. Don't miss it.
Here we go!
His name is Mark Elliott.
Off with Peter Pan. Only at a theater near you.
Attention all personnel. The war is over. MASH is going home. Next.
Tom Hanks, Tim Allen, Toy Story.
One of the great voiceover artists for television, for movies, for Disney theme parks. Mark Elliott has passed away.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah, he's the guy.
Look at more special previews from Walt Disney Home Video.
Yeah, I mean, that guy has said Walt Disney for the last 30 years.
Yeah. You can distinctly... His voice, listening to it and listening to all those promos, brings me back to when I was a kid in the 90s.
If you've been to the Disney theme parks, he's the guy that will introduce the fireworks at Epcot or at Magic Kingdom or whatever. Yeah, very sad. He's gone.
Well, that was funny that you said, do you know this voiceover artist? You played the voiceover and you said, it's the guy who does all the Disney voiceovers.
Yeah, sorry. Well, it did, right?
It did. Yeah. Sad, yeah.
We mentioned Baylor upsetting Gonzaga last night by a final of 86-70. How about the Gonzaga-UCLA game?
Oh,
insane.
My goodness.
One of the great games of all time now, right? What'd you say?
Insane. I actually had she's like an aunt. It's actually my mother's cousin who's, I don't know how old. I don't want to speculate. But she would not think that she's a sports fan or a college basketball fan. Yeah. And I was watching the game, and when it got down to the end in that semifinal game, there was like a minute left, and it was like a 7 or a 9 point game. And I was watching a documentary on another channel, and I clicked off. I missed the buzzer beater, the tip-in, all that stuff. And she's like, what a game, huh? This is Easter Sunday.
Yeah.
Well, it was a great game. And I said, yeah, it was all right. Kind of got away at the end. She goes, well, and she's telling me all these things, and I'm like, we didn't watch the same game. Come to find out, I didn't watch the most exciting part of the game.
Part of the game, yeah. Baylor took down an undefeated Gonzaga last night, 86-70, and college basketball has come to an end. Guess who's the
just
host?
in time for Mets baseball
to pick off right where they were 2 years ago, going in up and losing from the bullpen. Guess who the new host is of Jeopardy this week?
Aaron.
And maybe this month is Aaron Rodgers.
I've been watching all these stories pop up. It's really annoying. Every time for some reason, like you were talking about that you need a new mattress. You're getting all these ads. I'm getting all these articles about, Aaron Rodgers, he's not going to be a Packer anymore. If the right amount of money was given to him, he'd host Jeopardy full time instead. Get out of here with that. I don't think that's the case, but he's a big Jeopardy fan. Former champion.
Didn't even know it. He's one of the celebrity champions?
Yep.
Yeah. Contestant trolled Aaron Rodgers on his first night as Jeopardy host. During Final Jeopardy, he wrote, Who wanted to kick that field goal? ? It was a reference to the NFC Championship game when the Packers lost after kicking a field goal instead of going for a touchdown. Here we go.
The category for final today is daytime TV personalities. Accepting a Lifetime Achievement Emmy, he said, just take 10 seconds to think of the people who have helped you become who you are. Over to our two-day champion on the end. Scott, did you come up with the correct response? Who wanted to kick that field goal? That is a great question. Should be correct, but unfortunately for this game today, that's incorrect, and you're going to lose 0. Thank you for that, and congrats on your 2-day win streak. But the man in the middle, Brandon, could not be caught today. Did you come up with the correct response?
I can't listen to it because
it's terrible.
He's a quarterback.
He's not a host.
By no means is he an announcer, a host. Someone he's dropping off parts of his words. It just sounds like it's awful. I mean, what'd we do? Go to a high school and eeny, meeny, miny, mo and pick somebody out of the crowd?
Listen.
No inflection in his voice at all. Just straight.
Yeah.
That's why I hate listening to
That's why they got.
interviews.
That's why on those commercials for State Farm, they got to put so many people around him because he's not entertaining.
Yeah, that's right, Bill. That's a good point, Bill.
Exactly it.
Absolutely right.
The CDC has changed guidelines on travel. You can travel. Have you gotten your shot? If you have, you can. And there also seems to be word out there that maybe if you've been fully vaccinated, you might not be able to spread the virus. That seems to be something new that we're learning.
Which would be awesome.
That would be pretty awesome, wouldn't it? Oh. Thought I'd throw this in here a little. Ouch! Ouch! Get the shot? Doesn't hurt that much. Come on, stop being a baby.
Jab it right into my tricep. Oh, this miracle vaccine. There could be some side effects. Redness and swelling. The nurse's name is Stephanie. And she is so polite. She stuck my arm. She signed my card. And we will reunite.
Here we go.
At the CDC, the injection site. CDC felt like an insect bite.
That's pretty good.
Sounds like an insect. Felt like an insect bite.
At the CDC site.
I did not even feel the shot going in.
I didn't either.
Even feel it.
I sat down and I thought he was doing something, and I kind of thought that can't be the shot, but that was the shot. It feels. I've never gotten a shot that was less painful, honestly.
Interestingly, it was funny. I was just saying my daughter had a lot of pain with hers, and she got very fatigued and was down for about 24 hours. But then, just like that, back up and rolling like nothing ever happened. And how is everybody reacting? A lot of reaction out of companies like Coca-Cola and Major League Baseball on the corporate American response to the Georgia voting law. With that right now this morning is Tanya J. Powers. Tanya, good morning.
Hey, good morning.
A lot of talk about corporate America. A lot of criticism of Major League Baseball, certainly from those on the right defending this Georgia law.
Yes, and the Major League Baseball, there could be an announcement as early as today, it's expected today, that the MLB is locating their All-Star game to Coors Field in Denver, so it can be hosted by the Colorado Rockies. That was, I think the Associated Press got a quote from somebody who couldn't, on the record say anything, but they're expected to make that official today. So we'll
that's
see.
That's a great place if you want home runs. The ball tends to fly out of there because of the elevation.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how this goes. Who else, if anybody, if other corporations, kind of sign on to this sort of thing. I mean, the next kind of big battleground in this looks like it's going to be Texas, because you've got, American Airlines and Dell and other companies there. Those two companies have publicly criticized the proposals to change the voting, or to make it harder to vote in Texas, the new bill. So that seems to be the next one we should be looking for as far as, corporations and, their home states, so to speak. But yeah, you're talking about, before the bill's passing in Georgia, Delta and Coca-Cola and Home Depot, they didn't weigh in on this publicly. And then once it was passed, Delta, put out that statement that said, we helped. And then there were a lot of people who were saying, wait a minute, we don't like this bill, and why would you do this, and we don't think we're going to fly your airline. And that kind of, resulted in them sort of dialing that back with the CEO came out and said, we don't support, any kind of voting restrictions, things like that. There were a couple of companies, actually, that did say something before the bill was passed. Salesforce and Patagonia did criticize early versions of Georgia's voting bill.
So what is, and we talked about this before we went for Easter break, and, you have to have an ID for everything else. Why not have to have an ID just to prove you are?
And to vote in Colorado.
To prove who you are in order to vote. And so there's got to be more to the story. And I know there are other things in there. For some reason, you can't bring water to somebody that's waiting in line, et cetera, et cetera. But I wonder, is it more than just an ID? Why is the ID the big issue?
The ID is not really the biggest issue in it. It is the requiring it for mail-in ballots is the, I guess, the twist on that, so to speak. Limiting the number of ballot drop boxes. Like you said, the food and water thing is getting a lot of attention. But the thing in here that actually I think a lot of people may not realize is the part where it shifts control over the local election rules to the state legislature. And that is the sticking point for a lot of people who've really been studying this and said, wait a minute, because, in theory, if you have, results in a local or, a local race, so to speak, and the state legislature says, wait a minute, we may not like the results of this, or we are questioning the results of this, or whatever, they can take control over the local election board. Which is, that, I don't know, there's a lot of people who just don't, they don't feel comfortable with that. They don't like that at all. So that may be getting, kind of lost in the whole food and water thing. I mean, New York has a food and water rule. It's got exceptions. You can't deliver meat to people in line. It's written really weird. Where you can give them refreshments as long as it's worth under $1's worth.
Right. What they're trying to prevent there is campaigning, right?
I guess
people campaigning.
I guess.
So I spoke with somebody that said the ID issue is more than just the ID. So when we look at the ID issue, I'm thinking, I don't understand. Why would you have a problem with showing your identification? But what this person was explaining to me is that what happens, especially in minority areas, they've reduced the number of places where you can get your identification, and there are long lines, and they throw obstacles. Oh, you don't have your Social Security card with you. I'm sorry, you're going to have to go back and try again because you need this piece of paperwork or you need this. That what it does is it throws red tape at it, and not only dissuades them, but it prevents many people from actually getting the ID. I don't know if this is true, but this is what I was told from somebody down there. That's one of the things that we hear about a lot with the ID thing. I came from Tennessee, and they were a voter ID state as well, and there was all kinds of back and forth over that as well. I mean, it's kind of all in the fine print, honestly. Yeah. All right. What they ought to do is just come clean and do that. What's that game that they do on TV where you're running over the giant foam obstacles and then
Ninja Warrior?
The Ninja Warrior. And if you get to the other side without that thing knocking you into the water, you get an ID and you can vote. That's kind of how I took what was described to me. Is that it's one obstacle after another preventing these
Although
people
here, you got to get that real ID to travel, and when you got that, you have to have 2 other forms, and they'll send you away if you don't have it.
That is true, Andrew. So I guess it's the same for you as a white guy in New York trying to get that ID.
I'm just
saying
the
same thing. You're right. I get it.
But
I don't think so.
New York's not a voter ID state.
Correct. Right. You're comparing the license.
I'm saying to get the real ID version of the license that New York State's going to require you to have to travel.
Correct.
You know,
Right.
there are sometimes you got to have proper paperwork.
Well, I think you always have to have proper paperwork, and they do make you drive if you want. There's a travel pass that you can get that will allow you to skip the security line. You got to drive to like New York or to Niagara Falls to get that. But, you know, I do think it's different for those people. It's not the same as us saying, well, we got to have 2 IDs in order to get the ID, right?
I'm not sure what their ID requirements are,
right,
honestly.
Right.
And in some states, you can have an expired ID. And as long as it's your ID, it can be expired, and you can use that as an ID requirement. That was one of the things in Tennessee. There was just this laundry list of things you could use as an ID. I'm not sure that Georgia's is the same. I don't think you can use an expired one now, but I'm not positive. I haven't read every single word in this bill.
And in New York, it's the signature. And you can actually look at the book they bring out, and they show your signature. And I will tell you that my signature has degraded over the years tremendously. I went from being very neat when I first voted at age 18 to the point where it's just a scribble.
Perfect cursive.
And honestly, one of the voter people said to me, "What kind of signature is that?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Well, that's my signature."
Mine's always different, which is what I get nervous about. You know, it's never the same.
I know.
Mine's not either. I'm glad to know that I'm not the only person with that when I'm trying to replicate. Like if I go to the bank and they're like, "Okay, well, you have to sign something," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, it's got to look like the one," and then I don't know.
They're going to think I'm a fraud.
It's very anxiety-inducing.
Yeah, it certainly is. All right, all interesting stuff. Tanya, we appreciate it as always. Thank you.
Sure.
And you have a wonderful day. Tanya G. Powers from Fox News. Did you see the Texas, was it the Texas Rangers that did a game last night? Full capacity, 100%.
Oh, was it? Wow.
Yeah. What do we think about I mean, and I don't think there's any requirement about vaccinating or anything like that. It's just everybody, do they test? I don't think they even tested.
I don't know if they test. I think you do have to wear a mask, though. I'm not 100% on that.
I don't think there was Greg Abbott.
There was no one in a mask in line.
Governor Abbott,
really?
You know, whether they were wearing them or not for their own safety, the governor announced, I think, a couple of weeks ago that no restrictions, masks,
there are no mask restrictions
capacity requirements,
in
nothing.
Texas. Yeah, I think if you go to the cities, you see a lot of people still wearing masks there, but in the more rural areas and those, it's divided politically. A lot of that's divided politically. Interesting stuff. As Rob says, open up the country. Okay.
I got to say, I will say, in Florida and the parts, at least, that I was at, the part that I was in, there were strict mask requirements. I mean, every place you had to go.
That's the part of this that I think we're not seeing. You see that Florida has not had the same restrictions that we've had in New York. But when you look around, especially if you get to areas where people are older, you see most people wearing masks still in Florida, even though it's not required.
Yeah, the restaurants were very similar. I mean, it was a very similar experience to going to a restaurant in New York. There were X's on certain chairs at the bar. Some certain tables weren't being used. So at least in the Tampa area, they were pretty restrictive.
All right. Well, listen, as they keep telling us, this variant is on the way, and it's going to be another dark, this would be a dark summer, right, or a dark springtime. So far, we're not seeing that. And you're seeing states that are opening up and baseball teams that are doing the same. I'll take a call before we break here. Ann on voter ID.
Congratulations, Ann.
Hello, Ann.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm glad I woke up this morning healthy. Listen,
what is
Ann had her biopsy. Of course, Ann's a cancer survivor.
I did not know this.
Well, go ahead. You share the good news.
yes, I had a bone biopsy. They found a hot spot, and I had it done, and they said I'm cancer-free.
That is awesome.
Good
Thank
for you, Ann. That's a great feeling, isn't it?
Oh, it sure is.
Yeah.
Yep. But as far as the hypocrisy goes with the commissioner of baseball, wanting people to go to his games and show an ID that they've had a vaccine, you can get a photo ID. My mother has never been able to drive due to being born with cataracts. So no matter where we go, I can't tell you how many times she's needed to use this ID. They're available. You could get them before the election. Whoever needs to get them, let's help them get them. But don't say to me, you can't come into my baseball game without an ID showing me your health, whether or not you chose to have this vaccine. But I don't want you to show an ID to vote.
So do you,
that's a little, again, it's the hypocrisy.
Well, and I have to say, I don't understand why an ID is a bad thing. However, do you disagree with the person that I spoke to from Georgia that says what the history is, especially when you get into the more, you're not going to see this in Atlanta, but if you go into Cobb County or other places, they just throw obstacles and you got to jump through hoops in order, and people just get dissuaded and they decide, you know what, I'm not going through this.
If I remember correctly, my mother went to the DMV. Whatever we need to do to make it easy for people to vote,
yes,
let's do it before the next election so we don't have another debacle going on.
All right, that's
we
fair
have
enough
time.
So the concept would be an ID is required, but make it easier and make it obtainable for someone to be able to get an ID.
Right.
Yeah, that's fair enough for me, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have a good day, guys.
And,
you too.
And Ann, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay.
Bye.
That's great news, right? Hold your horses. We'll come right back here. It's 6:53 and Tuesday morning, and a nice, pleasant week. Yesterday looked like it was beautiful until you got outside and it was like 55
it was
and
windy,
a little breezy. That wind made things a little cool. But otherwise, we have a pretty nice week on the way here.